Atlantis Alive, focusing on tracking education.
Advisor of the National Department of Sports, Arts and Culture. That's very interesting. I love this topic because that's my area.
You love
Please
it as
tell us-
well.
Oh, yes.
So, yeah, clearly by now I've journeyed very far off the sort of justice and legal things, you know. I've worked in the Department of Tourism, and now I'm working in the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture. And again, a sort of transformation, this learning, this wanting to understand the way the government operates. I was approached by a minister to be appointed as one of his special advisors at the time. And it was a very, I was very young. I was a woman, you know, and you're trying to find your space, your place in the world, in the workplace, and really wanting to produce. And I really had an amazing time with that particular minister because he treated me as an equal in the sense that sometimes women in these spaces feel as if they are looked down upon, as if they are sort of discriminated against. But I never felt that, because I was treated as an equal to my male counterparts, you know. And the minister took me quite seriously because I had a huge responsibility, you know. I was basically, and part of my job was being the sort of link for the minister, you know, with the department, the government department in itself. And so obviously my responsibility was to ensure that the minister obviously performs in terms of the work that he needs to do. I would advise him on certain aspects that I felt was important to, like all special advisors would. And it wasn't necessarily always about the law, it was other issues as well, other aspects, you know, making sure that the national department is performing and they're doing the work that they're supposed to do. And it was a great experience because, again, you know, that is a stressful job to have.
Wow.
It is an extremely stressful job to have.
To be like so big, and your shoulders aren't that big.
It has to be big in spaces like that.
Oh my God.
Okay, because you have to hold
all this young woman amongst all that knowledgeable people already, and you're growing and you're learning. What was it like?
It was tough, but I refused to be a failure. You know, whether the circumstances forced me to be a bit more courageous.
Yes.
Or if I had to put in more work, I would put in the work. I was never a complainer of things. I always wanted to rise to the occasion and not sort of have the situation, you know, suppress me or make me feel as if I'm not worthy of being there. I always said that I deserve to be here, but now I need to prove that I deserve to stay here. You know, and a lot of people have an issue with that. It's like, yeah, you don't have to, you know, if you know, faced with difficult circumstances.
I'm just gonna interrupt there. Like today, for instance, you proved, never met me, you proved that an hour earlier you're going to be at this interview.
Absolutely.
Whether it is how young this platform is or how developed it is, but this is the respect you showed, and I mean we can learn so much from that. I was like, look at this woman, and she comes, she's all prepared and professional, and I really, really admire you for that, you know.
Thank you very much.
So I can imagine your dream and your goal and your vision during that time, wanting to just make it out there.
Yes, absolutely, and do my absolute best, irrespective of the challenges that might come, because you will have challenges, and the higher you climb, the more challenges, the more intense the challenges and the attacks become. But it's to rise above that all the time, stepping up a bit more and improving on who you are and growing as an individual. That is critical. Those are critical things.
Now let's go on a lighter note. Maiden voyage. Tell us about that trip.
I think I'm going to cut out a few pieces, especially the parts where I went to Las Vegas. I think that I'll sort of keep separate.
Las Vegas is good. I also went to Las Vegas. Guess what? I'm not a gambler, so they give me all the coins and all these kind of things. I haven't played one thing.
What?
I was in Las Vegas.
No, I was on the slot machines. So I took a maiden trip to the United States. I mean, obviously after working for the Minister of Tourism, the travel bug bit me very seriously.
Well, you finished now.
Yes.
Okay.
So I moved on from him to, you know, becoming a special advisor, and now I'm on my own. And I decided, okay, so I want to do this maiden trip. I love the United States of America. I've always loved it. And I'm going to go there on a holiday. And I went for 2 months. But I said, okay, I can't be totally useless while I'm there. I think that sort of work ethic of mine just continued. So I looked for organizations that I could volunteer my time at. And the trip was Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Las Vegas, and then New York. I ended off in New York. But I started in Philadelphia, and I worked at Mission Kids. It was an organization, a child advocacy center in Philadelphia. I worked there for a few weeks, and I met this incredible lady called Abby Newman, who's the founder of Mission Kids. And I think at that point, because my focus was really about women, you know, and gender equality, and I never really looked at the aspect of the child. And I mean, you can't look at women all the time without looking at children.
Yes.
So that is where my sort of interest, not passion necessarily, but my interest started to be evoked by that particular visit. So I went to a conference with her. I said, listen, are you going to Washington, D.C.? I said, yeah, I'm going there on holiday. She's like, okay, join us. There's a conference happening on the Children's Alliance of the United States. I'm like, okay, that sounds interesting. And today, in fact, this year, Abby and I have just been in contact all the time.
Yes.
They actually appointed me to a board that will be developing the international guidelines for children's advocacy and abused children and so forth. So
awesome.
That is incredible. And I'm going to be the lead for Africa, which is a huge honor. But if I didn't take the maiden trip,
yes, you wouldn't.
If I didn't have volunteer, because that's another issue that I have with young people and just people in general, their inability or being involuntary in doing voluntary work.
Yes.
Voluntary work, yes. Being involuntary, doing voluntary work.
Because now they want to get paid for doing voluntary work.
Absolutely. I mean, I worked at the police station for free. I did the Adopt a Granny program when I was on school.
What does the word voluntary means, and what does it volunteer mean? What does it really mean if you actually want to...
Exactly. Volunteer is basically giving your skills, your expertise, and your time for free.
Yes.
Doing work for the community, doing work that's going to uplift the life of someone else. But these days, and I understand the socioeconomic conditions of South Africa, but these days there has to be at least something in your life, something where you gave of your time. And that was one of the many things that I volunteered in over the years.
Now here comes another interesting. You've done so many, and every time we go into another phase and another phase.
Yes.
Play your part, Ambassador of the Year.
Wow. Yeah.
That must have been extremely exciting.
That was exciting because it was on national television, which was embarrassing actually because you know.
Why?
No, because it was at Miss South Africa. I mean, come on. It was announced at Miss South Africa show last year. My mom actually attended with me. Yes. And at some point when they announced me as the Play Your Part Ambassador for 2020.
Did you know this? It's going to happen.
They told me, but I didn't know that there was going to be the cameras on me. And I thought if it was going to be like a quick thing, but there was this time when it felt like forever and I had to like just wave and smile and thank everyone. But the Play Your Part Ambassador, I got that when I won the JCI, and I think perhaps later we'll talk about that. JCI is the Junior Chamber International. It's an international organization, and they have this competition every year. The TOIP. Top outstanding young person, or 10 outstanding young persons of the world.
So you were one of them.
Yes, I mean, that was so insane. Anyway, so after I got that award for my work that I've done, then Brand South Africa, which is the official brand South Africa, they are responsible for the brand reputation for South Africa. They approached me to become a Play Your Part Ambassador because of the work that I do in communities and so forth. And I just worked.
So that part, does it cover various other brands or just... How does that work?
Which one? Brand South Africa?
Yes.
No. Play Your Part is a flagship program that they have. Right. It's for young active citizens or people that are, doesn't matter, I should actually remove the word young because there are people from all ages in Play Your Part, because you can be a Play Your Part ambassador until you are 70 years old, because we need more Play Your Part people that's willing to play their part in shaping South Africa, in investing in South Africa, in transforming this country.
Yes.
But the reason why I became a Play Your Part ambassador was because of my community development work and my work in the activism and so forth, and because I was so consistent. I think that is why I got the award. Because you see, it's one thing to be made an ambassador. And there's another thing to be consistent in what you do. So some people work towards the achievement, I'm an ambassador now everything ends. No. Once you're an ambassador of something, the work actually begins and becomes more. Exactly. Yes. You know, and so and what they loved about me, and they still do and appreciate, is the fact that I've shown consistency throughout. There's never a time when I'm not busy. There's never a time when I'm not doing work. You know, there's never a time when I'm like, oh, we don't have money. You know, we can't do X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
I continued with or without money.
Yes, yes.
And that is why I think I got the award. Just to continue with that. But people often use money as the excuse, the reason why they can't do things.
Wow.
You can't use that as an excuse.
No.
Money isn't always...
Never going to get you there if
Absolutely.
you keep on thinking, I don't have the money.
I don't have the money.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. You know, to do certain things.
Now, you started a profession as an attorney.
Yes.
How did that come about?
I don't know, actually, how I became an attorney. I knew that... I knew, even when I studied law, that I was never going to be a practicing lawyer.
Yes.
I attempted, obviously, during my articles. And it was so funny because I was one of those lawyers who I won because obviously I'm very competitive. When I do something, I do it well, irrespective of whether I like it or not.
Okay.
No, it's
that's something
crazy.
to think about. Listen to her wise words.
Yeah, thank you. So I used to offer legal advice for free, and I worked in a private law firm.
Oh, wow.
And I think that is where the contradiction came in.
No,
yes.
So
I had people paying me with chickens, like literally a box of county fair chickens, you know, because that was all they had.
Yes.
And I knew that the particular law that I fell in love with was human rights law, constitutional law.
Yes.
And I understood why I had this sort of empathy with people not being able to pay. But I still felt that people deserved justice.
Yes.
They deserved access to justice. They deserved free legal advice or legal advice.
Yes.
Whether you come from a rich background or a poor background, you are deserving of that.
Oh,
and that was sort of my attitude. But obviously working for a private law firm doesn't work because they still laugh about it today. Actually, it's so hilarious. Because they were like, Melene, we see you in court every day and you're really doing very well. I'm like, yeah, thank you, thanks. And they're like, yeah, but where's the money? I'm like, what money? These people didn't pay me. I did it for free. So then I knew.
So what are some of the challenges during that time you had as working for the private company and also being an attorney?
Yes. It was a contradiction because of my personality, because of my beliefs.
Yes.
I didn't believe in necessarily taking money. I mean, there was some clients that I had that was, you know, they could pay. But there was also many who couldn't. And I could see the people that I grew up in the community, in the person sitting right opposite me.
Yeah.
So how do I charge?
How do
I? Knowing your circumstances.
The fact is that you know. If you didn't know, it's different.
Absolutely. Right? And I think that is also what sort of escalated me out of the profession and into the Constitutional Court, because from there on, my understanding of human rights and the Constitution deepened.
Yes.
And because I understood it better, and I worked for great judges like Albie Sachs. He was the judge that I worked for. In fact, I was his clerk when he retired.
Oh, wow.
It was people like him who inspired me even to write my thesis, and the topic of my thesis, which was about public participation and the importance of having people being part of decision making, you know, within the socio-economic framework of South Africa. But anyway, so yeah.
So the excitement came in 2017 when you started your movement. Wow. Tell me, what's your movement called?
It's called the Women Lead Movement. And again, I mean, it wasn't... If you had asked me 10 years ago, did you see yourself working in the NGO sector? I would have said absolutely not. Absolutely not. But there was a gap that we needed to fill. And that gap was the lack of education about human rights and the Constitution in our communities.
Yes.
27, 28 years into democracy, people still do not understand what democracy means, what the Constitution is, what the human rights are. So when we founded the Women Lead Movement, it was really about educating the masses on their constitutional rights.
Okay.
And then as the time progresses, we went into the gender inequality space, because obviously you can't talk about human rights without talking about women's rights.
Yes.
And then obviously once you explore the issue of women's rights, the issue of gender-based violence comes out. You know, it's sort of all connected. Wow. You know, and again, I mean, I left my job to actually found this organization. And I've been, yes. And that was one of the most difficult decisions that I ever had to make.
I can just imagine.
But it's also been an extremely blessed journey. Yes, it has. I learned a lot.
You also started recent campaigns. Tell us about the campaigns. We don't have much time left, but a few of them.
Okay, so the recent one that we just completed for the city of Cape Town was the gender-based violence education and campaigning. Yes. And that was in 8 communities. We reached over 1,000 people. But it wasn't just about educating people about gender-based violence. What is gender-based violence? You know, what's the strategies to prevent it, etc. We included a whole range of aspects. Yes. We included personal development, development. We included Know Your Rights. We included trauma counseling, substance abuse, and all those kind of things, sort of for holistic programming. So that is what we did, and that was amazing, and we really achieved amazing results. And then there's a few other campaigns coming up. 2 of those I can't talk to you, but I'll tell you once it arrives, because it might be in other African countries that will be implementing it. So that is big news, and I really hope for the best within the next few weeks. And then another one for corporate as well that we're going to do, but this is going to focus purely on the young people. Youth-led campaign on GBV.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, Melene Rossouw is one of Africa's dedicated, passionate women of a future success. So, Melene, what words of encouragement do you have for our youngsters and people, not necessarily youngsters, but for the people out there?
Wow. Okay, so young people, 3 things. I think the most important thing that I've discovered was that there's a lack of self-appreciation and love amongst yourselves and for yourselves. So I think the most important thing is to value your life. That's number 1, you know, like try and stay away from risky behavior. Like substance abuses and so forth. I mean, currently we have about 4.4 million young people infected with HIV/AIDS, and that number is growing by the day. We have so many young mothers, you know, falling pregnant, or young girls falling pregnant, which obviously it will have an impact. It will. I mean, obviously you'll survive it and you'll overcome it, but there is a clear, in terms of research, clear indication that it impacts you socially, on a health basis, and also economically, you know. The second thing is to learn about yourself. Take time to learn about yourself. Become self-aware. I think that is the most powerful tool that you'll ever have. Because once you know who you are, your strengths, your weaknesses, you'll be able to face the person in the mirror a bit more easily. You will also be able to face other people a bit more confidently, because you would know who you are and what your value is in life. The third thing is, if you have a dream, or even a vision, because I often say if you can visualize something, you can absolutely achieve it, like seriously, and I can visualize a lot of stuff. And when you see yourself in that particular place, go after it. My mom always used to say, if people put their foot down next to you, you also step up and you put your foot down next to them. Don't stand back for anyone. Do not allow your socioeconomic conditions or your racial profiling or whatever people want to classify you at be to or you use it as a disadvantage. In fact, use it as an advantage. I've learned that some of the most fascinating success stories in life was people that actually had or came out of extremely difficult circumstances. Okay? So make your story a success story. Do not stand back for people. Work hard and make sure that the character that you develop in life is someone that is ethical, that has integrity, and that is courageous. I think that is the most important thing. Be courageous to make decisions and to, grab opportunities.
What can I say to that? I'll call her Wonder Woman.
Oh, thank you.
Wonder Woman in my eyes, because she's achieved so much and she's doing so much. And you know what? A woman like her needs to be lifted. So let's give hands to...
Thank you very much, Gabby. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.